Bob Iger goes dead silent as Sonic 3 holds steady with the latest box office update. We're going to go ahead and get right into this. Welcome back to Views with Hughes, Culture and News. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, let's be honest. Let's be real here. As you all know, the company ran by Bob Iger has a current box office strategy and how things are shaping up with their latest release of Mufasa, the Lion King, against Sonic 3 is front and center once again. Now, I'm not an industry insider at all, but I do love breaking down these numbers, and honestly, the picture that they're painting isn't looking great right now. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this. So as you all know, Disney's, basically desperate to put some wins on the board, and they've had a rough go at, the box office in recent years. And Mufasa is supposed to be one of their big plays, but the numbers tell a completely different story compared to his predecessor, The Lion King from 2019. This sequel or prequel, whatever you want to call it, is struggling in ways that should make Disney and Bob Iger both very nervous. So there's some basics. You see, the 2019 Lion King remake grossed $1.6 billion globally. Now, that's a huge number, no doubt, but here's the thing, though. It reportedly cost about $260 million to make. Now, if you add marketing, let's say about conservatively estimate of another $150 million, you're looking at $400 million right there in total costs. And with that kind of investment, Disney still managed to basically rake in about $750 million in net revenue. Now, that's a 50% return on investment, or ROI. And for a movie of that scale, honestly, it does sound impressive. But then here comes Mufasa with a production budget of $200 million. And let's be real, it's probably closer to the $250 million once all this is said and done, plus marketing costs likely north of $150 million, and the total investment is nearly the same as 2019's The Lion King. Yet 3 weeks into its run, the global box office sits at just $476 million, even with some recent overperformance at the box office. And that's a bit suspicious in itself, but that's going to be gotten to later. But there's no way that this movie is going to hit $1.6 billion anytime soon. So to give you an idea of how stark the difference is, you got to also consider the domestic to international splits. Now, Lion King remake of 2019, the domestic box office made about 1/3 of the total gross, with about 2/3 coming in from the international markets. That's a 1-to-2 ratio. Now, when you look at Mufasa, you see a similar ratio, but the overall numbers are way smaller, and domestic revenue is around $168 million, and international is $307 million. Now, if you keep track, that means Disney is bringing in much less from the same types of audiences. Now, here's a real problem. You see, the ticket prices have gone up by about 30% since 2019. So even if Mufasa is bringing in fewer dollars now, it means that even fewer butts are in seats compared to 2019. And that's a huge red flag for audience interest. And guess what? You can't blame the pandemic for this one. Now, about that recent overperformance that I mentioned, with Mufasa had a rough opening weekend and got absolutely humiliated by Sonic 3. But since then, it's been exceeding expectations at the box office, and some might call it a comeback, but guess what? I'm not buying that Mufasa is making a comeback completely anyway. Now, Disney has had a history of throwing money under Bob Iger's at problems to make them go away, and they've likely pumped a ton of additional marketing dollars into Mufasa to keep it afloat. And there's even speculation that they might be engaging in some less than transparent, tactics. Now, remember this. This is the same Disney under Bob Iger that's been accused of buying up tickets to its own movies just to go ahead and inflate numbers. Now, I'm not saying that's definitely happening here, but if it were to happen, it wouldn't even shock me. But even if, Mufasa manages to break even, that's not enough for Disney. You see, they need these movies to be profit engines, to do well in merchandising, not just to stop their bleeding, and breaking even at, $750 million doesn't cut it at all when you're dealing with a company that's already losing money in other areas like their parks and streaming service. And speaking of streaming with Disney Plus, you see, Disney's reliance on Disney Plus is a big part of the problem here. Now, unlike Paramount, which can license its movies to other streaming platforms for extra revenue, Disney's stuck putting everything on Disney Plus, and Disney Plus is a money pit right now, okay? And that's just putting it nicely, putting it gently. And to really drive this home, got to compare Mufasa to its direct competitor, Sonic 3. See, Sonic 3 had a production budget of about $122 million, half of the Disney movie's budget. And even with marketing, Paramount's total investment is significantly lower, but they're managing to do better. So while Sonic 3 has made less of the box office so far, $336 million globally, its rate of return of investment is much higher. See, Paramount is already in the black, while Disney is still $150 million in a hole on Mufasa. And Paramount has more flexibility with its IP. You see, Sonic 3 can go to Paramount Plus, but it could also end up on Netflix or Amazon Prime, bringing in even more revenue. And Disney doesn't have that option, you see, and it's costing them big time. So what's the huge takeaway here? Well, Disney is definitely in trouble. Bob Iger has to figure out how to fix this. You know, they're spending just as much on their movies as they were 5 years ago, but they're making way less money. And audience interest in their core IPs is clearly, shrinking, dwindling, and their competitors like Sonic 3 are running circles around them in terms of cost control and ROI. But Bob Iger and his talk of higher quality and fewer projects is not translating into results if Mufasa is supposed to be an example of that particular strategy. And that's just not only box office. Theme parks are underperforming as well. Their streaming service is losing subscribers, and their new content is struggling to find an audience, basically. And Bob Iger can't ignore the fact that Paramount has shown with Sonic 3 how to make a big splash without actually sinking the ship. And Paramount is actually proving that smaller budgets and smarter marketing can win. And Bob Iger's Disney needs to take notes. Why? Because it's all about the quality and storytelling. But at the end of the day, Disney has to face some hard truths where they can't keep throwing money at the wall and hope something sticks. And Sonic 3 is actually proving that as fact. Now, audiences aren't as forgiving as they used to be, and nostalgia can only carry a franchise so far. But if Bob Iger wants to stay competitive, he needs to go ahead and rethink their entire approach, from how much money they're spending to how they're marketing their movies. And until then, Sonic 3 and other competitors will keep beating them at their own game. So, yeah. What do you think of? Are you just on the same boat with Disney as I am, or what do you think about Bob Iger's leadership and Disney's ability to recover? And how do you feel about Sonic 3 outperforming expectations? Bob Iger must quickly adapt as Sonic 3 remains a major talking point across the industry, and the strategies behind Sonic 3 to go ahead and continue to challenge Disney's outlook. How Bob Iger responds to Sonic 3 phenomenon will shape Disney's future. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional details or thoughts you might have on this particular topic. If you enjoy what was shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.